I know. Can you see over my shoulder? Yesterday afternoon, I found the motivation to mow the grass. I haven't got my strimmer, so the edges are not looking perfect, but the grass looking good. Let me show you a few things. Just look at Mrs. K's flower bed. We've got sweet peas looking gorgeous, smelling wonderful. We've got oregano flowers, marigolds that have lasted a year. Look at these penstemons. We've got sort of bluey purple. We've got, well, maroony purple and more of that bluey type. And then this beautiful light pink one. Fantastic. Cosmos this year have been just awesome. Some petunias. The flowers are looking amazing. Oh, let's go and have a look at the poppies, because this pink poppy is just the best. I don't think I've ever seen a poppy quite as pink as this. Let me show you. Just look at that. Absolutely fantastic. You know what I said about raspberries, where you sort of pick them and then you turn your back or wait a day and it seems like you didn't pick them at all. Just look at the number of raspberries out here. I absolutely stripped these bushes and now I can see little red dots absolutely everywhere. Even these plants where there aren't that many raspberries on there, but so many of them have turned just in one go. Going to eat that one. Right, what we've got installed today. Well, I've decided that there's a bit of hedge trimming to do on my blackcurrants. Look at the red currants. Awesome. This week, I think, maybe next. Right, let's go down and have a look what's in store. So this is my sprout bed this year, and they're actually looking quite nice. But all this foliage that's growing over, it's a combination of stinging nettles, blackcurrants without any blackcurrants on, and some bindweed. So rather than spend hours pruning that, I've brought this rather special hedge trimmer. Special because it was seriously cheap about 5 years ago in one of those German supermarkets. But it is awesome. Works every year without any fuss. So if you're thinking of spending a lot of money on one of these hedge trimmers, German supermarket, recommended. Right, I'm going to get something to cover this, otherwise I'll end up with so many clippings on the deck, and then I can scoop it all up in one go. See what I can find. Well, I think this will do me. This is the net that basically prevented my gooseberries from pollinating. My mistake, but I think that'll do fine just for covering over, and then that'll enable me to scoop it all up real easy. Just been stung. Right, stinging nettles, they always get me. Fortunately, I don't have a bad reaction to them. They just itch me for a while. Right, I think that's as far as I want to go. Careful not to tread on them as I go. And then we're down to the potatoes, so that'll do me. And I'll get chopping. Well, that was easy. Just make sure you've got the right protection on before you do this. I remember once I'd finished, which wasn't very special, but it gives me an opportunity to show you my bargain of the week. So we've got a small town near us called Abergavenny, and in there on a Tuesday is a market, and in the market today I found these gloves, 12 pairs for £10. That's less than £1 a pair. Fantastic. Oh, I'm sure I'm spending a lot more than that on gloves, and they have got a bit of a flaw. They're sort of stuck together in one place on each finger, So I'm sure that's not supposed to happen, but otherwise they're brilliant. So get this cleaned up and we'll be clear then, and the sprouts can grow up nice and strong. Well, that's a lot better. Plenty of light can get in there now. You can see how these nearer to the bushes were a bit stunted. Hopefully they'll come back through now. And I've staked any that I think are getting quite tall. And I've got more stakes, but I need to use those. And I'll show you what I'm going to do with those now. Right, this area is done. Moving on. Well, this is what I've got in mind. While I was doing the sprouts the other day over here, all of this was leaning over onto the grass. So I've used my usual method for holding it all back, and that's to put stakes in and wrap this cord around. And you can see it just moves up and down really easy. So if you need to raise or lower it, then no problem at all. I got myself in a bit of a tangle, so I need to get that sorted out. But here's why I need to do it. This side is, well, just going to end up blocking the path and blocking the light to some of the beans. So I'm going to get the rest of these stakes in and get around this rather unruly bunch of broad beans. But what a height on those, look at that. And the beans are just starting to form in there now. The flowers are dying back, and it won't be long before we got nice pods full of beans. There we go. 2 minutes, simple, very, very easy technique. And I've just put the rest of the cord down in the middle so I don't have to cut it. But that should keep them in check for a week or two, hopefully, until the pods are all ready. And if they do get a bit taller, I can just lift that up or even wrap around another layer of string. Right, of course that reveals quite a weed-ridden path. And I've got a couple of paths here that I've got a bit of a problem too. So I'm going to do a 2-minute path clear using the magic hoe, which I won't ever do without now that I got one. And that of course is the oscillating hoe, which does this job in double quick time. Well, if you watch my channel, you'll know what's going to go in here. But if you don't, you're probably thinking, what is he going to plant in there this late on in the season? Well, it's going to be parsnips, and my parsnips are now ready to go in. And, well, you could say it's a bit late, but I've always found that parsnips, they need to be reasonable sized plants before you put them in. And as long as they've got a reasonable growing period, which when you think about our climate now, is probably right up to the end of October for this sort of plant, and it's now early July, it's plenty of time. And then I carry on cropping those parsnips during the winter months, and particularly for stews, which is lovely. Right, this is some old bark chippings from my other raised bed area, and I've managed to do what one of the subscribers suggested, which to test it and make sure it's not going to inhibit growth at all, I just put a broad bean in at the beginning into it, and it's grown just fine. So I'm confident that it's going to be okay for the parsnips. So I'll make some holes and get them in. Let me show you what they look like at the moment. So this is the tray, and I've got a few lettuce in here, but they're all, you know, up to about 3 or 4 leaves now, and each one of these is in a toilet roll, and that's for a purpose. So if I take just one toilet roll out, which by the way will just decompose in the ground, it means that I don't disturb them too much because they don't really like to be transplanted. So quite simply, make myself a reasonable hole, get them down reasonably low and pop them in and fill round. Job done. And I'll get through here and spread these out. And I found that if I give them a bit of extra space, I get a bigger end result, a bigger parsnip. So I'll put those in lines and we'll see how we get on. Well, they went in very easy, and I'm just going to give them a light watering in because it's very humid today. They're not in any direct sunlight, which would be worse, but it is certainly warm, so just want to make sure that their roots get a bit of water. And then, well, it's looking like a bit of rain later, so hopefully they'll get rained in as well. And you'll notice that I've put a net alongside them, which I'm just about to put up. And for anybody who doesn't know, my plot suffers from cats using the vegetable growing beds as litter trays. So I'm going to anchor down one side, drape it over just for protection. And they should come along nicely. Good times. So I've got 2, 4, 6, 8 beds here, and they're all no dig. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to strip them all down, take the nets off of every single one of them, because I want to take the opportunity to show you how each of these vegetables have developed and grown over the last few weeks since I put them in. I need to weed them, so that's a good opportunity as well. So we'll do a little bit of a timed weeding session. How long does it take to weed 8 no dig beds? Well, it's exactly 20 minutes to 3 now, and I'm going to start. I'll put it on time lapse, strip these nets off, weed them, and we'll see what time I get to. Hopefully it won't be more than about 10 or 15 minutes, but then I can take the opportunity to show you each of these veg and show you how they're coming on. Right, are we ready? 3, 2, 1. Well, I must confess, we got a bit of a sweat on. Okay, time 5 minutes to 3. Almost exactly 15 minutes for 8 beds. That's how quick you can weed when you've got raised beds full of no dig compost. They just pull out wonderful. And I can hear those subscribers and regular viewers saying, you cheated, because I weeded that one a few weeks back. But the rest of these, pretty much not weeded since I put the plants in. Fantastic. Okay, let's have a close look at what we got. So to start off with, it's big celeriac. That's the aim. So just 8 plants in here. But you can already see at the tops of these, the roots starting to form, and that's the bit that we're going to eat. So that's good news. They're looking pretty good. Probably could do with a bit of rain now. Okay, on to my pride and joy, the Globo onion, which I really love. These plants are looking extremely healthy, and as you can see, plenty of nice bulbous onions developing at the base. So they've got a long way to grow yet, so I'm really hopeful that they'll come on really well. There's one there's a bit of a runt, not really working out, but that's fine. A lovely big crop, of globos. Okay, so this was really easy to weed just because of the foliage cover. So that's one advantage. Damn, I missed one. That's one advantage of growing swede close together, that you don't get too much weed ingress. You can see I've got quite a lot of leaf beetle in here, but then that's very predictable with swede. So that close together, we're going to get small swede, and we can have a look at them here. You can see the sort of size they are at the moment. You know, probably 2 inches across and fairly consistent. So, excuse me. So the plan here is I'll let them get a bit bigger, and then I'll start taking out every other one as we start to use them. And that will allow continuation of growth, and some of them will get that much bigger. In fact, I can see one that's fairly good size in there and there. So a very consistent crop, but small at the moment. So this is a mix of onions. I think it's got Elsa Craig in here. It might just be Elsa Craig. Have to go back and look at my video. But as with the Globo, you need a weed-free environment for onions to do well. They do not like weeds. I can see another one. Isn't it always the way? You do a weeding session and then you walk round and you see more. That's a dreaded mare's tail which has got to come out. But altogether, they're doing pretty well. Onto the Toscana, a Caballero Nero style kale, and this bed has always been a problem. I've not really successfully grown things in this bed, and I'm not sure why. This year looks okay. Now all of these kale had lime put in next to the roots because I do have clubroot in here, but I don't think any of those plants are suffering from clubroot by the looks of them. This one on the corner is suffering a little bit from a bit of slug damage. That's caused by the grass, I'm sure. And over here we've got some early broccoli. So this is the heading type broccoli, and no heads on them yet, but all the plants doing reasonably well. Nice wide growth, and again only 8 plants in there, but you can see how they're already sort of bumping into each other leaf on leaf. This is a mixed bed. Primarily it started off as beetroot, but we grew lots of beetroot last year, too many. So this year I'm growing less, but there's some really nice beetroot in there, and just leave those to carry on growing. I put a few extra swede in here that I had left over, and a few greyhound cabbage in here. Again with lime in, just to give them a helping hand. We've got a little bit of damage going on in that area. And looking in it, I mean, it's likely to be caterpillars or snails or slugs, but I'm just hoping it's not caterpillars. I did see a cabbage white butterfly under the net, but I soon dispatched him. So hopefully we haven't got any caterpillars' eggs laid in there. Okay, and this is the second celeriac bed, exactly the same theory as the first one, and 8 plants. So hopefully again they will come on well. And actually, even though I planted those a little later than that top bed, it does look like they're coming on a little bit stronger. So there we are, 8 productive beds, 15 minutes weeding. It's actually going to take me longer to put the nets back on, I suspect. Better get on with that now. Well, that's me done for today. You may have had a few, well, sound issues, because I appear to have lost my muffler, but it happens every now and then. I find them, usually in amongst the vegetables. Well, I hope you enjoyed today's video, and if you did, why not like and subscribe? And if you want my uploads, every Wednesday, every Sunday at 8 PM. Diolch yn fawr.